Ramen is one of Japan's most popular dishes. But did you know that instant ramen was invented in 1958? This created a dried noodle with an even longer shelf life than frozen noodles. Instant ramen might be Japan's greatest cultural export, and it's hard to imagine a world without it. But at first, instant noodles were considered a fad. Many companies hurried to cash in on this product, and Sanyo Foods was no exception. We started manufacturing instant ramen in 1961. Welcome to this episode of Ramen Regions. Our original flavor is reminiscent of Shoyu Ramen. Shoyu Ramen is what many Japanese people think of when they hear ramen. If you go to a restaurant and they only serve ramen, it's very likely that you'll be served Shoyu Ramen when you order it. In fact, in 1910, when the first ramen shop opened, it served Shoyu Ramen. The shop was called Rai Rai Ken, and it popularized the flavor in the Tokyo area. That's why when Sapporo Ichiban was first starting out, we turned to Shoyu for our signature original flavored ramen. Toppings can vary from restaurant to restaurant, but Shoyu Ramen is typically topped with pickled bamboo shoots called menma, sliced chashu-style pork, and green onion. Other popular toppings include kamaboko, also known as fish cake, soft-boiled eggs, spinach or bok choy, and nori, a kind of dried seaweed. Shoyu Ramen also features a clear broth, usually made of chicken and dashi. Our Sapporo Ichiban original flavor features a blend of both chicken and beef broths for depth of flavor. Then, soy sauce is added to give the umami quality that ramen is known for to the broth, while still maintaining its lightness. Because it's primarily flavored with soy sauce, the flavor of Shoyu Ramen is salty with a slight tang to it. It's a nostalgic flavor for many Japanese people, especially older people who associate the flavor with many fond memories. If you live in America, however, Tonkotsu Ramen is probably where your mind goes when someone mentions the dish. Many restaurants in America that serve ramen are serving the rich pork broth. Even in Japan, Sapporo Ichiban's tonkotsu flavor is popular and well-loved. Sometimes called Hakata Ramen after the ward in Fukuoka, Tonkotsu Ramen is a staple flavor in ramen shops across the world. The toppings of Tonkotsu Ramen can vary, depending on the style and region it's being served in, but a typical bowl might be topped with sesame seeds, chashu-style pork, green onions, and a soft-boiled egg. Other common toppings include various types of pickled ginger, corn, nori, and black garlic oil, known as mayu. Broth is the star of any tonkotsu ramen, of course, made to be rich and filling by blending the fatty flavor of pork stock with the other flavors and aromatics. Every shop has their own method and secrets for making tonkotsu broth, but our broth is rich without feeling too heavy to eat. The added leeks and garlic help to deepen the flavor while not overpowering anything. Another popular ramen flavor is miso. Miso is a staple of Japanese cuisine, so it's no surprise that miso ramen is one of the most popular flavors of Japan's favorite noodle dish, and one of our flagship flavors. If you go to Japan, you might hear this kind of ramen called Sapporo Ramen, since a shop called Aji no Senpai in Sapporo is said to be the birthplace of miso ramen. What may be surprising about miso ramen is the fact that it's relatively new. While shoyu and tonkotsu both have long histories, miso has only been around since the 60s, even though Japan has a long history of using miso in its cuisine. Because there's so much variation in styles of miso ramen, the toppings are really up to the person making it. Common toppings for Sapporo-style ramen include corn, butter, bean sprouts, and garlic. Interestingly, finely chopped pork is usually the protein of choice for Sapporo-style ramen, instead of the more common chashu-style pork that ramen usually comes with. Miso ramen broth is usually made with a mixture of pork and miso, with lard added for fat purposes. Since Sapporo ramen is designed to be eaten in the cold, snowy Hokkaido winter, the lard helps the broth retain heat so it can warm you up. We use a blend of 6 different types of miso in our Sapporo Ichiban miso flavor. The last of the popular ramen flavors in Japan is Shio. Shio Ramen hails from Hokkaido and is sometimes called Hakata Ramen after the port city where it's most popular. Hakata is southern Hokkaido's largest city, known for its abundant seafood. Since winters are so cold and snowy in Hokkaido, which is the most northern island of Japan, a piping hot bowl of ramen is the perfect way to keep warm. Shio Ramen uses less lard than other types of ramen popular in Hokkaido, though resulting in a lighter soup that suits Hakodate's milder climate. While ramen served in Hakodate usually uses a base made of pork and chicken, with clear soup reminiscent of many Chinese dishes, the broth of Shio Ramen is much more flexible than shoyu or miso. One popular type of Shio Ramen uses yuzu, pairing the salty broth with the tang of citrus. Whether pork, beef, or seafood broth is the base, refreshing saltiness characterizes Shio Ramen broth. It's a great foundation for whatever flavors you want to experiment with because its flavor is very neutral. For a Hakodate-style Shio Ramen, the usual toppings are pretty similar to the traditional shoyu ramen topping: pickled bamboo shoots called menma, sliced chashu-style pork, and green onion. Of course, seafood is a popular topping, along with hard-boiled eggs, dried seaweed, bean sprouts, and corn. Ramen isn't the only way to eat noodles. Stir-fry is a very common form of cooking in Asian cultures, and there are many forms of it in Japan. Among the most popular of these is yakisoba, or fried noodles. Reports of where this dish originated vary, but most people say it originated post-World War II in Asakusa, a district in the Taito ward of Tokyo. In this climate, cheap noodles provided nutrition for many people who were struggling after the war. The defining features of yakisoba is the use of a special yakisoba sauce, and the fact that it uses noodles more like what you might find in other noodle stir-fries. Since the introduction of ready-made noodles into Japan's supermarkets, yakisoba has also been a popular dish for home cooks. Different regions of Japan use different sauces, from the more sour and spicy sauce of Eastern Japan to the sweeter sauce of Western Japan. Every region in Japan also has their own version of yakisoba, from the egg-topped yakisoba of Ishinomaki to the squid ink noodles of Itaogawa's black yakisoba. Many accomplished chefs have also taken on yakisoba, turning this simple dish into something gourmet. We hope you enjoyed this look into some common types of ramen. Itadakimasu!